días de nuevo desde Buenos Aires, en un día no tan primaveral, hace mucho frío.
Good morning from Buenos Aires.
Mañana, pero bueno, no importa.
It's
Lo
not
importante es tener el
such a nice day
primaveral
today.
en
It's
el
a little bit
alma.
cold.
Les doy la bienvenida a nuestros becarios
I
en
want
nuestro
to
cuarto día. Y hoy
welcome
tenemos un día
our
intenso.
fellows
Vamos
in this
moviéndonos.
fourth day.
Primero
It's going to
empezamos con
be
temas más técnicos de infraestructura.
a
Ahora
full
vamos a ver
day.
temas
We're
más
going
de
to
inteligencia
start
artificial,
talking a
brecha de
little bit
género,
more
temas
about
más que tienen que ver con lo social
AI,
y algunos
gender
aspectos que
gaps,
tienen que ver con la
and things
economía.
that
Les
have to
quiero
do
dar la
with
bienvenida ahora a
social
Irene
aspects
Velandia.
and
Irene
economy.
es, no me
I want to
quiero olvidar
welcome
el cargo de
Irene
Irene, lo quiero
Velandia.
decir bien. Es gerente de Asuntos Gubernamentales y Políticas
She's
Públicas
the
de Google
government
para
and
la
public
región
policy
Andina. Irene
manager
está
for
en
Google
Colombia
for
y
the Andean
le damos la
region.
bienvenida a
She's
Irene.
based in
Irene,
Colombia.
creo
Welcome,
que
Irene.
quizás te comentamos que este año la escuela tiene como anfitrión el Ministerio de
Irene, you know that this
de
year
Colombia,
the
así que
school
bueno,
has as a
es
host
virtual,
the SIG
pero
ministry in
siempre todos
Colombia,
los años
so
tenemos
it's
un
a virtual
anfitrión. Irene,
school, but
bienvenida. Quiero
every year we
agradecer que
have a
estés aquí con
host.
nosotros,
Welcome,
que
Irene. I
dediques tu
want
tiempo a
to
compartir
thank you
este
for
espacio
being
con nuestros
here
becarios. Tenemos
with
500
us, for
becarios
sharing this space
de
with our
toda
fellows.
América,
We
muchos
have fellows
colombianos
from all over
y de todo el
America
mundo
and
porque
many
tenemos
from
traducción
Colombia, of
simultánea
course,
y
and
estamos
from all over the world. We
en
have
esta edición
simultaneous
virtual.
translation
Y también quiero
in this
agradecer a Google que nos
virtual edition
acompaña
of the school. And I want to
como
thank
sponsor
Google
desde hace
for
muchos años y gracias
being a
al
sponsor of
apoyo
this
de Google y de
school.
otras empresas y
They
organizaciones
have been
podemos
sponsors for many
ofrecer esta
years,
capacitación gratuita para,
and that's why
para
we
tanta
can
gente
offer
todos
this
los años. Irene,
training
bienvenida.
free of charge for many
Espero que
people.
esté bien allá en Bogotá.
Welcome, Irene. I hope that
Y
you
Irene
are
nos va a
feeling
hablar de un
well
tema
there
súper
in
importante,
Bogotá.
el caso de
Irene
la
is going to
inteligencia
talk about a
artificial
very
en la
important
recuperación
topic,
económica. Hemos hablado bastante estos
artificial
días
intelligence
sobre
and economic recovery. So we have been talking a lot about these
tantos millones de usuarios
platforms
y que hay
with so
un
many
componente importante
users
de
and
elementos de inteligencia
the
artificial y
elements
tecnologías de
of
inteligencia artificial para
artificial
eventualmente
intelligence
moderar contenidos,
and
cuánta información
that are
se
used to moderate
informa, la
content
publicidad.
and
Entonces, tu
publicity.
participación y tu tema
So
hoy es súper relevante
your
porque creo que va
presentation
a
is really
ampliar
relevant today because I
lo que
think
hemos
that is
venido
going to
mencionando en otras charlas que no han sido sobre este tema específicamente, pero
enhance
que de
all these
alguna
topics
manera
that we have been
tangencialmente
mentioning
lo
in
has
other
tocado. Espero
presentations.
que esté bien
And
y
I
te doy la
hope that you
bienvenida
are
a
well
la
and welcome
South School of
to
Internet Governance,
this South
13ª
School of
edición.
Internet Governance in this
Olga,
13th
muchísimas
edition.
gracias. Quiero
Thank
confirmar
you,
que me
Olga.
oyes bien y quiero confirmar que van a ver mi
I want to
presentación.
test if you can hear me correctly and if you can see my
Te
presentation.
escucho bien. ¿Se escucha bien? Acá le pregunto al equipo técnico, ¿sí?
Let me check with the technical team.
Buenísimo. Mil gracias
Great.
nuevamente. Muchísimas gracias a ti, Olga, y a los organizadores
Thank you,
del
Olga,
South School of
and
Internet
I want to
Governance
thank
por
all the
invitarnos a
organizers
conversar
of
el día de
this
hoy sobre
School of
los temas que
Internet
consideramos
Governance for
que eran
inviting
importantes
us to
para la
share
región
these
y
important
para
topics
el
for
mundo
the
entero,
region and
especialmente en
for
un
the
momento en que nos
world in
encontramos
general,
pensando
especially
qué
in this
herramientas
time in which we are
podríamos
thinking
activar
about which are
para
the tools
reactivar la
that we can
economía
use
y
to
para reactivar nuestra
recover
sociedad
economy
al
and to
camino de
uh,
crecimiento económico y social que veníamos persiguiendo antes de la
recover
pandemia.
the
Les
social
hablaré
and
del caso
economic
de la
growth
inteligencia
that we were
artificial
having before the
en la
pandemic.
recuperación económica
This
y
is the
cómo
case
desde
of
la gobernanza
AI
intermedia
as
y las
regards
políticas
economic
públicas podemos
recovery.
trabajar para activar los
And
beneficios de la
from our
inteligencia
position, we
artificial en la
can
próxima
start
década.
working in order to use all the benefits of AI in the next decade.
En Latinoamérica, le hablo a esta audiencia
In
latinoamericana
Latin America,
de nuestra región, pero esto aplica para muchísimos países del mundo.
actually this is for many countries in the
Fueron
world, but I'm
beneficiados los
speaking
países
specifically
con
about Latin
grandes
America.
reservas de recursos naturales. Y
There are
esto ha
many
favorecido el
countries with a lot
crecimiento
of
y la
natural
consolidación de
reserves
sectores
and
tradicionales de agricultura
the
y
growth
hidrocarburos
of
durante el siglo XX.
traditional sectors such as the
El problema es
hydrocarbon
que
sector
fundamentar
in
el
the
crecimiento
20th
económico
century
en
has
este
been
momento
great,
en estos
but the
dos
problem is
sectores
that we need to
deja de ser
sustain
una opción
economic
que sea
growth in
sostenible en
these
el tiempo,
sectors, and
especialmente en
it is
tiempos
not
de
an
cambio
option that is
climático,
sustainable
de
throughout
metas
time,
de desarrollo
specifically because
sostenible,
of climatic
de nuevas
change,
fuentes de energía,
sustainable
de
development
recursos
goals,
naturales finitos
new
y,
energy
sin duda, de
sources, and
necesidades
finite
básicas
natural
aún sin
resources,
satisfechas.
and
Por eso es que el
basic
planteamiento
needs
de
that
hoy
are
es que
not
la
met.
inteligencia
So
artificial
that's why
tiene un
today
altísimo
we
potencial para
say that
transformar la
AI
economía.
has a huge
Y este salto
potential
se
to
va a dar en la
change the
próxima década.
economy,
Siguiente.
and this is going to happen in the next 10 years.
Nuestro CEO, Sundar
Next,
Pichai, señaló
our
que dentro de Google el
CEO,
aprendizaje de
Sundar
máquinas con
Pichai,
Machine Learning
it's talking about machine learning that is making us think how we do things. This is his vision, how everything is done through AI and how all of us can benefit from AI and economic recovery. Our challenge is that countries can take advantage of those opportunities that AI offers so that we can develop new markets, reinforce the business ecosystems that we have to foster labor markets, to improve the talents that we have in the region, to export technology services, and in general that the people's satisfaction is complete as regards the public and the private sector. Next. I'm going to focus on some key concepts in this presentation today. I'm going to make it simple. AI means the science that uses programming similar to aspects of human cognitive aspects and tries to do things and process can be intelligent that way. This is a general definition, but I think that it applies for what we're going to talk about today. AI has been going on for 70 years. It's not a new concept. And the history of what has happened as regards science, for example, I'm going to show you a graph that is going to make you understand in a simple way the development levels that led to AI. We have optimization and automation of processes through simple processes. Then we have AI that we have already defined. And then we have machine learning, which is one kind of AI that includes the use of statistics and techniques that are complex and that allow computers to improve with repeating those learning processes. In the middle, we have what we call deep learning, which is all kind of automatic learning made of algorithms that allow the software to train itself, to learn from what happened, and to develop, for example, language or image recognition. Next. This is a school exercise. As an example, we have to take from A to D and to understand what X means, which is the value of X in D. Probably you were able to reach 81. Nobody is giving you the rule, but the process that you did was understand the relationship between 3 and 9, 4 and 16, 8 and 64. So then 9 and you reach 81. And this is what happens in machine learning. It's trying to teach the computer to learn from experience and from data instead of rule-based programming. An example of AI that is typical is the example of DeepMind, the Alphabet organization that works in the system, and the development of AlphaGo Zero. After playing a lot of games, the DeepMind team decided to play the most difficult game that humanity has, and after putting more than 100,000 games into the algorithm and redefining models and working with the algorithm, the deep learning of DeepMind could win the master in March 2016. And these are very complex processes, and the algorithm learned from itself. And this is a deep learning example. It's not that we need to get to this AI or deep learning process in order to take advantage of AI. A lot of AI that we need to recover the economy is more simple. And it looks for algorithms to try to do specific tasks with a lot of data and to improve results. Next. AI work with algorithms. These are instructions or mathematical equations that the machine uses to process data to solve problems. You probably have heard about algorithms and neural networks, which is similar to the human brain. In our brain, we have more than a lot of these networks that are interconnected in a non-linear way and transmit signals and messages in a complex way. And this allows human processing. So in order to learn in machine learning or AI, what the network does is to train itself using algorithms. So the network learns and obtains great results. The most clear example is this image recognition, where AI, the system that we are using here, has to determine if this is a dog or a cat. We don't know what it is. We have a picture, the computer doesn't know, we don't know either, and we are not giving the computer instructions. So AI in the computer is not going to write the rules. It's not going to use a specific rule that says there's a dog when it has a tail, a head, 2 ears, paws here. That's not AI. AI, for example, is going to chart 10,000 images that were labeled as dogs and 10,000 images that were labeled as non-dog. And then they are going to apply the algorithm and solve this. These networks try to do predictions based on its capacity to discover patterns. So the more layers, the more possibilities to obtain a pattern, and that makes the algorithm and the whole system more efficient for certain goals. After the training, you send an image, and the algorithm is going to determine, according to the signals, the error levels and the patterns. If there's a 95.65% certainty that what is here, it's a dog. Next. The other AI element that is important for public policy is computational capacity. As you know, math has always been used to identify challenges, to understand them, and to explain them. But actually, math problem solving is not so easy for human beings, and we need to use computers to try to make the equation solving more efficient. But even that way, the processing capacity doesn't allow to do nonlinear processes in a simple way. And this is where AI allows us, or has a key role for this complex process, since it learns from previous experience and can process information quicker and more efficiently. That means the development of AI allows us to share better machines. You have recently heard probably about quantum computing, which is a branch of science trying to develop data processing technology basing on quantum theory, that is the capacity of using different states and doing tasks using all the changes possible at the same time. Those quantum computers are designed to do it in a more precise way and more efficiently than traditional computers. This kind of computing, quantum computing, has been developing the AI concept, the quantum AI concept, that is quantum computers to process algorithms. The goal is moving forward as regards this science, and finally quantum computing would allow us to get better results than before. The last element that is relevant to highlight here is data. Algorithms that make AI possible are fed with data. Because of the advance of digital technologies, there are more data that are more useful for training algorithms. This process that is a characteristic of AI can only take place when there are enough data with a good quality so that the machine can learn from those data. The machine needs to identify patterns in the data, to extract those rules in the patterns, and to compare data within the data itself. So the bigger the data, the better the quality, the more effective AI is going to be. Next. Everything that I said means that with AI, you don't need to say computers what to do for processing, such as our computers at home. We need to give a goal, a lot of data, an algorithm, and they will learn to do it. Next. For people that are interested in learning a little bit how AI works in practice and to use it for their business or organizations, I invite you to explore Teachable Machine. If you Google it, you are going to find it. This is a platform where we have a lot of courses and exercises and some tools to develop machine learning processes without the need of specific knowledge in the subject matter. Next, I'm going to go back to machine learning that is necessary for the products and solutions. In the case of Google Photos, those of you that have used it probably have seen the share libraries. This function allows us to share certain photos with friends and family. You can also save photos in the library of those people that you may choose. And there's also a recognition technology that allows us to differentiate a selfie with a lot of people or a selfie with my parents, for example. Everything is done through AI. Next, in Gmail in 2015, there was a change that was very clear for users. We introduced an intelligent answering function, helping users to handle inbox and classifying emails in a quicker way. The next year, 10% of the users of mobile phones that were using Gmail from their phones were sending emails and answering them with this tool. And here in this tool, we have two neural networks. One is used for inbox, and the other one is to predict the possible answers for those emails. Both networks work together in order to understand the content and offer different answers for the different options. The last example from Google that is a very useful one for many people is Google Lens, that makes possible for more than 800,000 people all over the world that have problems reading to use a function that puts text into voice. So with the camera in the phone, you take a photo of a text that you do not understand, and it puts it into a voice. They can understand the message. This helps for ATMs, for doing shopping, or for people that have some kind of understanding problem, and also those who cannot understand maybe a language. And this has been tested specifically in India. Next. There are more ambitious developments that are not within the communication ecosystem. There are people that think that if AI continues developing, there's going to be like a super AI where humans are not going to be necessary and machines are going to develop it itself. And these are ideas that come from fiction and do not have support, but we need to understand that there are specific things about AI in order to establish public policies and to guarantee that our societies are going to enjoy from the benefits of implementing AI, and that we are going to be able to apply it to different aspects in society, such as education, security, and the labor market. Let's see see some of these important uses that offer efficiency and that help our society in the mid and long term.
Doble clic, mil gracias.
Double click, please. Airbus created a satellite image analysis system. You can click again, please. Thanks. They developed a satellite imagery analysis system that eliminates clouds from the images. They have worked in another software before this, and they have developed it for more than 2 decades. And then they developed a new system recently. An AI engineer reduced the error rate to less than 4%, from 13 to 4%. Next. Here we also have an example of a non-profit organization that used machine learning based in cloud to train a system that is going to recognize the kind of phishing that is taking place according to the GPS movement of the ships. When they implemented this system in less than a year, they were able to obtain proof for legal matters that show illegal fishing in Kiribati. So they were able to establish some lawsuits, and the Kiribati government fined those illegally fishing. Double click, please. In Google, for 10 years, we have been developing and executing some of the most efficient data centers in the world. Our focus on reducing the overcharge of energy that cooling data centers requires. After 10 years of work, we were able to develop systems that reduce 12% the annual expenditure in energy. And we were surprised when an engineer from a data center was working in a project with DeepMind, a cooling system based on AI that reduced 40% the need during the summer. So in less than a year, we could do that. And this is the last example, which is a retail store for food in the UK. There is a contact center hosted by machine learning. They use advanced AI to classify emails from customers and messages that they receive in their social network. And in this way, they can focus quickly and efficiently with a triage model, giving priority and classifying the possible answers for all their customers. Next one. What does AI have to do with economic recovery? These are basic concepts that you know about way of assessing economy and the value of goods and services produced in a country in a certain period of time, generally in a year or a quarter. GDP grows by adding capital or labor, but as you know, is the decreasing performance law that has to do with everything growing at in the same level in economy. And if you have a computer to write a book and you buy a new computer, it's not that you are going to write 2 books. So if we add AI in this context, probably the additional production capacity of that computer can be used, for example, for translating the book or for automatically using different contests into the book can be put, or to develop new distribution networks for that book. So that way, marginal performance is not going to be deficient. And the same happens with labor. When we introduce technology of AI specifically, it's going to mean a growing factor in this economic equation. At the global level, there have always been significant gains as regards economic recovery from the new product offers related to AI. According to Analysis Group studies, you probably know this consultancy group, in 2016 they estimated that including AI in productive processes in the world will generate more than $300,000 million in the GDP growth in the next few years. Deloitte also has another survey that has with the global market of AI of $6.4 million for 2025, and also estimate a 14% of the growth in the GDP for 2030. Those economic visions are supported by the effects that we can already see in practice as regards applying AI in areas such as transport, agriculture, finance, health, publicity, science, healthcare, and even at the government level. Introducing technologies, and especially AI, is a growth factor that can be estimated. Next one. There are many ways in which AI can be used. I'm going to make it simple once again. Automation, a machine that is based on AI learning rules, and with previous decisions made by humans, they can automate tasks that humans were doing so that humans can use the data produced by AI for things that are necessary in the productive processes. Detection, by monitoring data and comparing them with previous data and benchmarks, AI algorithms can detect when something is wrong. For example, if a patient has sepsis, or if there's a heating of a platform or something, customization, when AI allows us to customize results in specific areas, for example, recommending movies. Prediction, algorithms can learn from what they have learned before from previous data and to predict future results basing on the data that they handle. Those predictions can help, for example, farmers to understand the yields in their production, or, for example, to help the police department in a city to learn where is more probable that there are to be crimes committed. Algorithms can work with a lot of data and to extract patterns that humans may not have seen. For example, scientists can use AI to analyze data from patients and to identify correlations in the genome and the incidence of disease in this kind of patients. During the pandemic, we can say that although the health crisis and the economic crisis affects us, AI and probably other technologies, digital technologies, have the potential to help recover the economy. And we think, and what was said in the World Economic Forum, that every technological innovation that is used to fight the pandemic is going to help us to recover from it. Reactivating the transforming power of AI and to be able to apply it to our society to get a benefit is going to involve all the players, the businesses, society, the state, the academia, the social sector. We need to work together in areas such as production, labor, consumption, to mention some of them. And we need to find a balance between public policies and to take opportunities such as this forum to discuss, debate these issues. Public policies should also be timely applied. If there is no opportunity, there may be some of the factors that are left behind, and we need to focus on labor and education, for example. Here I want to suggest 6 points in the public policy agenda in which we can work with AI. The first one is to offer the possibility of developing agendas for developing AI in different countries. Countries are working more and more in establishing their national strategies for recovering by using AI, and these agendas are based on talent, education, incentives, research, AI development, of course, infrastructure for connectivity, which is fundamental, system interoperability, and open source data platforms. What we were saying here is that in order to achieve the long-term goals, we need to start working, doing ongoing work within institutions so as to have constant dialogue with all the relevant parties in order to promote AI. Second, to foster technology investment and good quality data. As I was saying, because of the exponential growth of processing capacity of computers, AI is possible. This complexity in implementing AI is going to continue needing efficient computers. So we need to invest in technologies so that we have the tools that AI needs. We are not only talking about machines, but also investing in technology services that enable AI processes, such as cloud computing. And we also need to establish interoperability standards that will allow data to be used for machine learning by third parties. The problem that we have today is that data is not in files that can be read and is not ready for processing. That is the big challenge. So we also need some of those data that are going to be personal data, and we need a legal framework sustainable to allow us to govern in a right way those data and to offer trust to the owners of those data and to allow cross-border flow so that we can apply AI use those data. The legal framework, of course, in Latin America, we know about those legal frameworks, so we are almost there in achieving that goal, to foster research and development and testing of AI. This is key to foster academic work as regards research and development of AI. It implies testing labs as well. The academic sector is key in this AI testing, and we also need to use research and testing at the business level, and to use public-private financing and incentives to attract talent and the necessary expertise for developing AI that is necessary. And it is also paramount to develop the creation of systems for the development of this technology. Develop links between the players to generate ideas and to develop local businesses using AI. These specialized ecosystems for AI are going to be used, and public policy should also focus on this physical or virtual areas to focus on that. We are starting to see in some of our countries that this is a valuable instrument when researching and testing AI models. Next.
The task force has been incentivized towards educational change or transformation when one may acquire the talents and the necessary skills without having the possibility of having a labor activity without AI. Not only a community of scientists, but also some roles that may exist in a developing world with implementation of AI. Public policy should drive, for example, the role played by mathematics and science, and here we speak of STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, which drives AI and practical applications. Also, the role of soft sciences like language, communication design, organization management, and project leadership. These are projects of AI where they develop and implement capabilities that are fundamental in order to put them into practice. The role played by digital literacy, the public capacity of using technology to relate to technology positively and to integrate that one in the day-to-day operations. Also, human and social sciences, which are essential for training algorithms and to drive communities or society to use and to relate it to AI, to strengthen gender gaps in the digital divide, because we may require that AI is unbiased like the gender bias. And we also need that there should be planning in talent reaching all demographics and all geographies. Then we need to invest in AI on the part of the state. The state could become a catalyst in developing talent, not only in AI, automating certain functions, features, investing in talent transformation, investing in science and technology, and transforming processes of our own and those that can be outsourced with technology. For example, policy making in policy, justice, and transport, they have the potential of driving AI that would allow to understand the problems and to channel those solutions effectively. Lastly, to have ethical challenges in developing AI. This is important, multiple challenges, and requires special fora. That it doesn't have to be on the part of the state. As a matter of fact, it requires that all stakeholders could participate in the discussion forums, whether it is the academia, the public sector, private companies. We may all be involved to benefit from the potential of AI. All the systems that use AI, they have outputs that require ethics. That's why it is important this pillar is always covered in public policy. What is true is that it's not only possible to have the inherent risk eliminated from everything. However, what policy can require or do is to drive sub-programs or sub-projects in order to minimize risk. Here, I will bring the example of Colombia to the table. Since 2019, we have been working for the framework of AI in Colombia with the end to minimize risk and to maximize opportunities. We created the International Council of AI for Colombia, which is a branch of the government in public policy making related to AI. And this has evolved very smoothly and recommendable when thinking of AI as a tool that could be beneficial for all parties. Last slide, please. Here I can summarize all recommendations and guidelines of public policy, and I urge you to start discussions along these lines and the opportunity that you have for developing machine learning or AI for activating the economy and the social aspects, especially during the pandemic that has been so difficult. Thank you, Olga. Thanks a lot, Irene. Very interesting, especially the last part of your presentation, everything in connection of how to conceive AI from the public space arena, because we have people that work in the government, and I'm sure that any other people or the rest of the people can review the material that we have streamed in YouTube. And we have also ICTs that are part in this 13th edition of the South School of Internet Governance. There are many questions, and I'm sure that you took almost all of the comments or questions that I have here, but still, there's one pending. How to conceive AI alternatives insignificantly poverty-stricken areas when they lack infrastructure or internet access. I believe this is important because many times there's a digital divide between education and infrastructure. Some of them that are fortunate to have connectivity. How you go about with AI to close the divide or to impact positively on those people in the most vulnerable sectors of society? Precisely, Olga. I believe that having the possibility of including AI in many processes is beneficial, is possible. One thing is understanding the political and social problems or issues that we're faced with. I believe that nowadays we're working in Colombia on understanding where there's a lack of assistance in some sectors of society, and when there are floods, the rivers are flood these communities and they cannot react fast enough. So it's not that they are distant regions and AI cannot be applied to understand that problem and to create some warning or wake-up calls for the government and for other stakeholders that are involved. Multilateral private partnerships, private companies, they can all contribute with artificial intelligence to try to level off and to offset the balance of these communities that are in vulnerable sectors of society and help them out. Thank you. The example of Colombia is very important. Also, those examples that you brought about UI fishing, unreported illegal fishing, or on the part of the government, how they solve and identify gaps or problems or issues, especially in the most vulnerable sectors of society, to impact their reality with some benefits. Thank you very much for speaking here. Thank you for your time. And hopefully we're going to see each other in person in an event abroad. Thank you very much. Thanks, Olga.
Chao, Irene.